Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Sunday night show. I'm joined by Ricky, Sophie, Flex. We're talking about Ollie versus Poch. We're talking about the next few weeks. We're talking about what is the future for Manchester United, what is the now, and also want to talk a little bit about potential transfers over the summer. And no, we're not going to talk. Actually, forget that. We're not talking about bloody transfers. I don't know why I wrote that.
I'm going to say, Mark, I've had enough of that. Mate.
I think I've been sipping that red wine too much. I'm reading the wrong list. Transfers.
Santo, 90%. Yeah, he's on his way.
I've had too much red wine, I think. Anyway, I'm not talking about transfers. Forget about that. People will be turning off. Anyway, what we will be. Anyway, evening, Ricky. Where are you, Ricky? You're in some bedroom somewhere.
Yeah, I'm at my friend's villa in a little town called Kalkan in Turkey. His villa's called Kalamartrim. It's absolutely beautiful, 7-bedroom villa. So it's different class.
Matic, his friend's called Matic. giving him the thing. Soph, good to have you on the show. I see you're in your zebra kit.
I am, yeah, and I'm in lovely Wolverhampton, so it's nothing compared to Ricky, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you asking me. I'm excited to talk about Ollie and Poch in a minute.
Good, and we've got Flex, of course. Everyone knows who he is. Right, let's start off about Ollie and Poch. This is there's a lot I want to talk about, and I know Ricky wants to talk a little bit about, what's coming over the next few weeks. I think we all need to talk about that. And I just want to say that I'm not massively Ollie in. I've been Ollie out before, and we bought Bruno, so I'm not defending Ollie here. But for me, I just think people are going all mad on Poch because it's not Ollie. Oh, give Poch this team and the tactics he's got, he'll make us better. I mean, I just don't see that. I don't see that. I mean, Soph, what's your opinion on this at the moment? I mean, look, we've lost 2 games out of 3. We've got some really hard games coming up. I'm totally aware that, and that bad transfer window as well. I even myself, I've said Ollie's going to struggle to keep his job. I mean, the momentum is behind this Pochettino thing now, but where do you sit on that? Are you hoping Ollie's going to turn it around, or do you think, ultimately, begrudgingly or even happily, it's not going to work out anyway?
I'm hoping Ollie turns it around. I've never said that I'm Ollie out or Ollie in. I stick that Ollie deserves criticism. I think tactically he's yet to prove himself. However, I also feel that he's got an inept board. Targets, like you mentioned, weren't taken in the transfer window. And I just feel like if we carry on sacking managers, it's going to be this vicious cycle until something changes at the top. I still think it's going to be a vicious cycle. So I've never sat and said Ollie out. However, I do think tactically he does need to improve.
I think that's a good point, Ricky, because I agree with Sophie on that. I feel cheated. I said Ollie out after the Burnley game. I was furious. I felt like that was the end of the road for me. I thought he's not going to be the manager. Then we brought Bruno in, and I was like, the team responded to that. They got 3rd place, but I didn't think they could do that. And I thought, you know what? I'm behind this team. I'm behind this manager. And then I think the transfer window was just typically, like Sophie said, the board did what they always do. And now we've got this momentum of Ollie out again. And I feel cheated and frustrated. And I agree with Sophie. It's not about being Ollie in or Ollie out for me. It's about, you can name any manager, Pochettino, Nagelsmann, anything. They're not going to achieve with this board. Where do you fit at the moment? Because we've got some hard games coming up, and we've not been good at the start of this season either, which is worrying. There is a bad momentum behind us.
We've got some really difficult games coming up. We've not had a great start. But I mentioned to Flex last week, it wasn't great towards the end of last season, drawing with Southampton, drawing with West Ham, losing to Sevilla, beating Copenhagen in extra time. We had like a 4-game run where we won by 3 goals, which is a long time ago, really. Now, going game by game, it's a long time ago. When we had that 4-game winning run, Pogba and Bruno came together for the first time, really, because the first game back after lockdown was Spurs, and Pogba didn't start; he was on the bench. Then he came into the team. And lots of people were saying, we've got Pogba and Bruno now, we're going to make chance after chance, we're going to get loads of goals. And it actually worked for 4 games. Look, whether it's a coincidence or not, those 4 games were against Aston Villa, Brighton and Bournemouth, and Sheffield United, who just got beat 3-0 by Newcastle when we played them. We got them at the right time. So it worked for 4 games, but in 4 games where you thought we should win those games. If we don't win those games, we're in a bit of a mess. And we won them well, to be fair. It was at the time I was saying I'm over the moon with them, they're keeping it simple. But since then, really, it was a bit disastrous towards the end of the season, and now it's really disastrous at the beginning of this season. So I think Ollie, he's got a big decision to make. I've said it time and time and time again. There's no room for both Bruno and Pogba in this team. There really isn't.
Where do you put this? You talk about that 4 games, and I think at that time I said I think we were one of the best teams in Europe at that time, and people don't understand context. I meant at that time, in that week, on that day, we were playing. I didn't say we were Bayern Munich, but
that's been clipped.
we have dropped from there. There's no doubt.
Mark,
go on.
At the time that you were saying that, I wouldn't have disagreed with you. Although at the very same time, I was saying that it won't last.
Yeah, well, that's always the problem, isn't it?
We were playing that well. It was fantastic.
But so where we are now, where do you? I mean, there's so many things. I think it's interesting. And I do want to get in the Ollie and Poch thing because I think that's a totally separate thing in some ways because it's an option, isn't it? Do you push the Poch thing or do you stick with Ollie? And I want to know where everyone is on that. And I can see a lot of people in the live comments are saying Ollie out, Poch in, and all that, which is fine. That's your opinion. But you, Ricky, just to pick on that point, what do you think's going wrong then? Because we had those 4 games, we dropped off, we did, we went out, we got over the line, we got against Leicester, we lost in the semi-final, and then we've basically lost 3 games. I know we got 3 points against Brighton, but I celebrated it, but I celebrated because it was just unbelievable as a spectacle. We should not have won that game. So we've got 3 points we shouldn't have. We should have actually lost all 3, which actually, to be fair, United losing their first 3 games of the season doesn't matter who the manager is. So you're in trouble. So are you firmly behind Ollie, or do you have concerns about where this is heading, considering we've seen what's happened under other managers when the players stop?
I've got big concerns about him, but he's got to see the light. He has really got to see the light. We just, against Spurs, we just didn't have enough players behind the ball when they got the ball. It's so simple. It's unbelievable. It's almost schoolboyish. Greenwood and Rashford playing on the flanks, they don't come back as much as proper wingers do. And other attacking players, people think, wow, we've got attacking players. I said on the show weeks and weeks ago, people were saying, oh, we'll score so many goals. We've got Greenwood, we've got Rashford, we've got Pogba, we've got Bruno. I was saying at the time, well, we might score a lot of goals, but they'll probably score more. The opposition will probably score more. And what is happening is the opposition are scoring loads and we're not scoring enough. It's just, there's too many players who don't really want to be behind the ball when the opposition have got it. I've had it out with a few people on Twitter who don't grasp it. They seem to think that the players who are behind the ball have got to win the ball. I've had people say to me, Matic didn't do well against Spurs. He didn't do well, but he isn't going to do well playing on his own. Pogba was 10 yards in front of him and Bruno was 10 yards in front of that. You just need players behind the ball. When you've got players behind the ball, it makes them play different passes than what they would play if there's not enough players behind the ball. They can't get forward quite so well. They can't get people in behind just because the pass isn't on. I watched the Wales game today against the Republic of Ireland, and I was particularly watching Dan James, and I thought, I'm not at home. I would love to have recorded it and put a few things on Twitter, but there was 3 or 4 times where the right back was on the right touchline, in like sort of 10 or 15 yards into the Wales half, but Dan James was back near him. So they just literally couldn't pass it to the right back. Now, against Spurs last week, their right back was in oceans of space all the time, so they kept passing it to him. So what a lot of the fans don't realise is just by being stood there, you're doing a job. And we've not got anybody stood there so often. It's so simple, it's unbelievable.
Flex, where are you on this then? Ollie, out, Poch, in. If that opportunity is there to do that, you have been, critical. Yeah. If someone says to you right now, Flex, you are Ed Woodward, Pochettino's there, Ollie is cheap, you can sack him quite cheaply and bring Pochettino in. Is that the deal that you would do, like many people in the live comments would do?
No, I'll stick by what I said in terms of Ollie deserves finishing third with that team in however he did it. Yeah, we can look at other teams being poor. We can look at luck. We can look at being 14 points off and just scraped it. Whatever you want to say, he did his part of the job. He did it. You can argue how, but he did it. So he deserves a shot. He deserves a shot. He hasn't now got the best shot because of the transfer window. I understand that. So I would stick by what I said, is where he deserves a chance to see where he can take us this season. Obviously, it's 3 games in. It's 3 games in. It's too early for me to press the button. I think that you have to give him a chance to fight his way out of it. In a weird way, there's been times where Ollie's been close to on his arse before, and he pulls out these results that we think, where's that come from? Do you know what I mean? And sometimes that can be at the detriment to the longer term thing for people who want Poch, because they think, oh, he's luckily picked out 2 big wins and now all the pressure's eased again. But I just think that he deserves a chance to get us out of this. But like Ricky said, and a lot of other people, and like I've been saying over the last few weeks as we've started the season, I won't void him with what's happened with the transfer window and stuff. I won't void him of the responsibility that he's got. Do you know what I mean? I see Ben Lapp says, Flex, we know you're Ollie out at heart. And it's not that. It's not that. I'm just being honest. He deserves a chance to get us out of this mess. Show me. He's got.
You know what? I'm sort of this, but I'm probably a little bit more pro Ollie. But I sense that you, Flex, are probably more. Look, I don't think you believe Ollie's the right man, but I think you're also intelligent enough to know that if you bring another manager in, the same thing's going to happen. You know, mate. I don't know. I don't want to put words into your mouth.
I've always said that. When people say to me, "Will Ollie win you a Premier League title? Is he going to get you back to the top?" I've always said he probably won't do that. I don't feel he will do that. I don't think he is the man to do that. But what I do feel is that he will hopefully leave us in a better position for somebody else. And maybe that might come sooner than I actually thought it would, because it is starting to go to shit right now. Maybe it will. But I think Ollie is doing a lot of things or making a lot of decisions that aren't helping himself. And I've always said this as well. I don't think he's strong enough to make big calls that, like, you know, on your big players that could actually end up upsetting your dressing room, unsettling the player. I don't see him doing that. So like a Maguire thing, mate, I should change this. Won't do it. Pogba probably wants to keep him happy so we can sign a new deal. Doesn't want to upset the apple cart. Rather than put an arm around and say, listen, you're not ready, mate. You're not ready. Big call. Donny van der Beek. Do you know what? I know you're a newbie, but I tell you what, you're going to play. You're fit. You're ready. I've seen you linking up. I've seen the way you move the ball. You keep it simple. You're going to be in the right position. Greenwood. We got all our hopes and aspirations on the young kid, but he's not going, do you know what? I'm just not going to start him. I will play Mata because he's more experienced, because he will use the ball. I just don't see massive calls being made for the good of the team. And I don't know, that worries me, because in turn, that's going to make it more difficult for him. And I think he'll lose his job because of it.
We're going to talk about that in a bit. And I think Ricky's got some ideas about that. And I think we all have. But, you know, beyond, we'll talk about this Pochettino thing for a little bit more. And then we'll go into what happens over the next few weeks, because I think there's some big calls. I think next Saturday night, like, there's huge calls that if he gets them wrong, he's going to get criticism for it. But so we'll have a look at that. But Sophie, I mean, I'll ask the same question, but add a little bit onto it. So if you had the opportunity to bring Pochettino in now, and look, there's a lot of people in the live comments and in the wider Man United fan base who would do it right now. Is he the right man for Manchester United? Would you want him to come in now, or would you want him next if Ollie doesn't work out? Do you actually think that this is the right man for Manchester United?
I think right now I'm Ollie in, so I wouldn't make the decision now. However, if Ollie was sacked, which we're openly saying that could be a possibility with the way we're playing now, and we don't improve, I think Poch coming in as the next guy, I think I would accept that. I think a lot of people, obviously he hasn't won anything, and I get that, but of course he took Spurs to the Champions League final, didn't make any investments, he wasn't backed, so a lot of people were excited by that. But for me, Spurs and Manchester United, there's a lot more pressure on being United manager. It's a massive step up for Pochettino, and again, it's another risk like it was for Ollie. And like I say, until something changes above, I cannot see a manager succeeding. I think it'll be another short-term fix where you get the new manager boost for a little bit, and then it'll wear off like it has done. So I'm hoping that Ollie can get through this. And like I say, I'm sticking to Ollie in right now.
Ricky, you're quite opinionated, if you don't mind me saying, and you have your ideas based on a lot of things. Well, to me, I just feel with Pochettino that I like him, but every time we've mentioned him, I've never said I think he's the man for Man United, because I watch a lot of other football, probably like you, and I know a lot about Pochettino, and I know that he doesn't win any trophies. I know that his record against the top six is crap. I know that he's a stubborn manager, and I know that he doesn't really use the width. And for me, they're all big red flags to me. I mean, if Ollie gets, if Ollie resigned tomorrow, is Pochettino, do you get what all this obsession is with a lot of people in our fan base that Pochettino is the man? Or do you think it's just another, he's available, it's not Ollie thing? Would he actually excite you as a Manchester United manager, Pochettino?
I'm not sure he'd excite me, but some of the things that you're levelling against him, which a lot of people level against him, I think are a little bit harsh. I don't think, he took over Spurs, and I think Spurs had been in the Champions League once in their history. I mean, it's quite a thing, this. They'd been in it once, and they went in it, I think, 4 times in a row under Pochettino, and obviously reached the final once. What would we give to reach a Champions League final?
I'll tell you what, though, I've got to say about that. This is where myth blurs reality. That Champions League run, I'm not begrudging it, right? But in the group stage, they finished on 8 points with Inter Milan.
Yes,
they got through on goal difference, and Barcelona got 15 points or something like that. They then beat Dortmund very well. I watched that game. They played brilliant at Wembley in the second half. He absolutely changed the game. But then the quarterfinal was Man City, where, look, I loved it, but how Man City didn't win it, I don't know. And then the semi-final was Ajax, which again was, I wouldn't say it was lucky, but it was last kick of the game, wasn't it? And then the final, they were poor. So look, fair play. He got to the final, but I do think that it wasn't some Pochettino tactical masterclass. They were pretty lucky along that way.
Yeah. What you're saying there about that particular run in the Champions League is perfectly true. That's fine. But they still qualified for 4 Champions Leagues, competitions. And I think over a longer period, that's more important to think of than them having one lucky run. Well, let's put it this way. We've only been in it twice in 6 years now, when we used to be in it all the time. They got in it 4 times in a row under him. So if you're in it 4 times in a row, you've got more chance of having a lucky run and getting to the final, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got to be in it to win it. But I tell you what, though, that in a general sense, that's a good point, isn't it? Because I was on about this morning. Is he not the perfect Manchester United manager in the sense that you look at that, he does get you in the Champions League every year, but you look at his record against the top 6, and this. I'm not including his Southampton record here. This is his top 6 record as a Spurs manager, and I wrote it down. He won 3 out of 27 away games against the top 6. 3 out of 27, and including home games, only a 25% win rate. Now, Ollie's is around 50% home and away. So, and Ollie's,
think if you mess up against the rest.
No, it doesn't. But what it means to me is that I think Pochettino would come in and get us comfortably top 4 every year, 3rd and 4th. He ain't taking us to 2nd and 1st. He's not that manager. He hasn't got that on his CV. He's never won a trophy. He's not very good against the top 6, but he probably will get you to beat Brighton and Southampton and everyone like that. But is that what we've become now? Is that it now? Because the Glazers will love that. Champions League every year, don't give him any money, 3rd and 4th.
But that's what people want Nagelsmann, don't he? Saying he plays an amazing style of football and he does this, he does that. Unless I'm being mistaken, someone pull me up, he hasn't won a German title, has he?
No.
He hasn't won a cup, has he?
He's younger than you, though.
I know he's young, but I'm just saying, has he won things?
But I would want, and I jump in, everybody. I would want a manager who, I'm fed up of taking everybody else's seconds. Like Mourinho was sacked at Chelsea for a reason, and we were like, "Oh, he's the greatest manager in the world." Well, he's not. He's got sacked by Chelsea for a reason. Pochettino's been sacked by Spurs. He's been sacked for a reason. I'd rather we went for the Ajax coach or the RB Leipzig coach, because they're up-and-coming managers who've been successful where they are, and they can be our project. But I just think going for Pochettino and Mourinho, it's like we're taking the risks are there for me. And if it doesn't work, I just think it's such an impossible job anyway. To me, I just think it's weird. I don't know what you think, Saif.
I agree, to be honest with you. I think Pochettino, like I say, because Spurs didn't invest and they got them so far in the Champions League, like Ricky says, they qualified them 4 times in a row. United said fans are obviously turned because they're thinking, we want to be qualifying for the Champions League again comfortably. And he wasn't backed, like Ollie hasn't been backed. And like I say, I think I agree with Flex in the sense that Ollie is the man for now. He's the man long term. We'll wait and see. I'm not fully confident on that, but I think he's the guy right now to get us back on track and hopefully playing that the way that we want to play. But the last few games we haven't been playing well. I've seen as well, we were linked to it. There's gigs as well. Apparently his name's been mentioned in terms of manager. I mean, straight away I'm saying no, of course. But I want to see. Firstly, I want to see what Ricky's opinion is on Ryan Giggs possibly being new manager.
Oh, I want to hear this one as well.
Yeah,
Ryan Giggs is Man United manager, Ricky. Well, actually, I think he'd do quite well.
I wasn't keen on him at first, but I've got to be honest, he's not doing a bad job for Wales. So
only because he picked Dan James.
Yeah, he put me something today after 75 minutes. I was a bit disappointed, but yeah, he's doing a decent job for Wales. But I think we should be going for someone who's a bit more, a bit more in the forefront of the management circles, if you like.
Do you think Pochettino is? Sorry, Ricky. I was going to say, do you think Pochettino's mentioned so much because he's available right now? Is that why United fans are so tempted by him? Because he's a big name and he's available?
I think Mark made some great points about the Ajax manager or Nagelsmann. Without a doubt, young men, hungry, come to a big club. But on the Pochettino side of it, if you think about it, he got the job at Spurs because he did so well at Southampton. And I don't know what happened in the dressing room, but he did a great job at Spurs for 4 or 5 years. And then obviously it all went pear-shaped, didn't it, in his last season. But he hasn't managed, no disrespect to Spurs, they're a big club, they're a really big club. But they're not an absolute gargantuan like United or Real Madrid or Barcelona. So I think maybe he deserves a chance at a club like that in the end.
But the biggest problem that we actually have is as well, though, which is the thing that actually hurts me most, which is looking past whoever the new manager is. The new manager will come in, and I keep saying we're Bounce FC. Our players will be up for it. They want to prove themselves. They want to shine. They want to, They want to impress. We'll probably go on a good run. The football will look amazing, whether it's Poch, Nagelsmann, Ten Hag, whoever it is. And people will start to form that opinion. See, this is why we should have got rid of Ollie. This is why it's all crap. And then what will happen is we'll get to the summer, right, or January, whatever it is, and that manager goes, yeah, okay, so, you got Harry Maguire 2 years ago now. He ain't really for me. So I want to move him on, and I want to get X. Yeah, you've been playing Greenwood and stuff, but I don't know. I fancy him as a 9. I'm going to take Martial out. You can sell him or whatever. Get me this right winger. Yeah, Matic he's on his last legs now. He's at the end of that 3-year extension we just give him. He has to go. Sorry, Rick, but I'm just saying he's at the end this time. I want this. And he won't get it. He won't get what he's going to want when he wants it. We know under this regime, under Woodward, under the Glazers, they might back him at the first transfer window and we think, great, we're going in a decent direction. But there will be a barricade, a block at some point in that managerial reign where there's a face-off. There's a face-off where that manager won't be able to win. And that, for me, is sad, really, because it's making me not really focus too much on my own manager, because I know that eventually a new manager will get to that same part of their managerial reign. And that is what annoys me most. Even though, like I said, I won't void Ollie of all tactical responsibility. And I do think he's making some bad decisions. And I do think that I know that there are managers better than Ollie out there that could take the reins and get more out of the squad. But it just sickens me that I still have to have it actually at the forefront that I think it'll be short-lived. I think it'll be Bounce FC. And the players we've already got. I keep saying it. Some of them ain't that good. Some of them ain't as good as we think they are. And that's annoying as well, because they'll turn it on for a bit. Like Roy Keane keeps saying, they threw Jose under the bus. And I'm not saying Jose didn't deserve to go down in the tools. Then they play well for a bit. Then they show lack of bottle in certain games of Ollie, mixed with Ollie's tactical ineptitudes as well, mixed with the board. And it's all a big situation that actually isn't just solvable by one blanket response, i.e. change the manager straight away. I just don't see it.
Well, exactly. I think I'm not Ollie in. I think he deserves, like Flex said, he deserves to stay and let's see what happens over a run of very difficult games, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and how we approach those. But what I'm not is, because I've done it myself, I'm not this isn't working, let's get Pochettino in, he's the next great thing. I think it exposes you as a fan, in my opinion, as ridiculously naive to the bigger issues at Manchester United, because as Flex said there, I'm no doubt Pochettino would come in and the players would play for him, because they've done it 4 times already. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer went, nobody will beat that run. That 3 months he had when he first came in, nobody will beat that. Like, that was ridiculous. We won nearly every game. So we're now kicking a manager out who had the biggest bounce out of anyone we've ever had. So Pochettino could come in and win every game for 3 months. Well, hello, so did Ollie. So to me, it's not about backing Ollie and it's not about not wanting Poch. It's about knowing for a fact that whoever you bring in, they will not succeed under this regime. It's a cycle that happens every 2 years. Someone comes in, they do well, they'll get us in the Champions League because we're in the Europa League. Then when they're in the Champions League, they won't get backed. And then you'll all be saying, sack him. There's another manager that will do quite well now. And the Glazers go, price is going up. Money's coming in. We've got a tiger print shirt coming out. Sophie's wearing it. We're laughing. And that's just the way we're victims of this cycle that just keeps going round and round. So it's not about being Ollie in for me. It's just, I know no manager can change it. And there was a great comment there before. Pochettino's had a director of football everywhere he's been, and he's succeeded. I wonder what Ollie would be like if he had a director of football and not Ed Woodward above him, because we all say we need a director of football, but we never, ever give Mourinho or Van Gaal or Solskjaer any credit for the fact that they've not had a director of football and every other club does. I don't think people understand how big that would be. And would Pochettino get a director of football, or would he get Wally Woodward?
It's tight.
It's a good point. I think you're spot on though with what you're saying about the cycle. You just sack a manager, we get that. It's the mentality, isn't it? You've said the same core of players have failed 4 managers now prior to this. It's a mentality issue. The second they get comfortable, the performances dip, and the players have to take some blame for the performances of late. Yes, Ollie, some substitutions are questionable, some of the starting lineups are questionable, but you're telling me that the players that he put out on the pitch shouldn't do a better job than they have been doing. I think giving Maguire the captaincy, of course, is another one that people are saying Ollie was wrong for doing now, and we'll see on that one. But I think in terms of right now, Ollie is the guy. Long term, like I say, he's got to prove himself, but you can't just keep sacking managers because it's not going to change anything.
I think you made a lot of good points, but I'm not 100% convinced that another manager would get backed enough. You know, we have spent 80 million on Maguire, 50 million on Wan-Bissaka, almost 50 million on Bruno, 40 million on the Dutch lad, what's he called, Van der Beek.
Yeah.
I've not added it all that up, but it might be 200 million quid. There are managers out there who would buy players like, look, they might slip off, they might end up finishing 12th, I don't know, but look at the job he appears to be doing at Everton. And he's buying players for 30 million and 40 million and 29 million and stuff like that. You could get a manager who could buy you a new team with all that money and do better than what we're doing.
The trouble is, though, Ollie doesn't buy the players, does he? We know this. Mourinho didn't buy the players. Ollie didn't want Van der Beek. And Maguire and Wan-Bissaka were players that were, pretty much scouted and done before Ollie even came into the club. Cavani, Ollie doesn't want. He could do really well, but Ollie didn't want him. The signings, and this goes back to Mourinho and Van Gaal, they don't get the players that they want. So it is good money that's being spent. But to be honest with you, Ricky, I would say back to that is that we still got third place from. Yeah. Third place is one of the best positions we've finished since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. I would say if you want second or first, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but on top of what's been spent, I think if you want second or first, give me another 300 million, because I look at the Man City and Liverpool squad and our squad now, and I think, well, yeah, I've got Maguire and Bruno and I've got Van der Beek and I've got Wan-Bissaka and I've got Pogba, but I need another 300 million because I need a centre back, a right winger, probably need another good striker as well. I certainly need another CDM because I can't rely on Matic all the time. So, yeah, I think
it is about that recruitment though, because
it
is about the recruitment, because actually I feel a little bit tricked actually, or maybe it could be my own personal understanding of it and going too gung-ho before actually taking a step back to think, actually, has it actually improved that much? Yes, we got Bruno and he's a fantastic player and we want players like that. Yes, Van der Beek we got on the cheap, considering it didn't work out at Real Madrid, the coronavirus and Van der Sar link up. But when you actually think about it, Liverpool got Jota for 40 million. Adama Traore, like you say, Mark, or whatever, could come and be effective for 35, 40 million. Instead, and I know it works, I know it fits what we want to do and we romanticize, our target is £109 million Jadon Sancho. It's not always the romantic thing that we want to get involved of because it fits the club the right time, that is actually going to be the best move. Ollie, like you said, all right, he might not have wanted Maguire in that, like, before he can, because he wasn't there, but he didn't negotiate that price. Like, that just shows we're dumb. We're stupid. Like, do you know what I mean? 50 million on Wan-Bissaka. Again, I'm a fan, so at the time, I probably did go, oh, do you know, that's a good bit of business.
Not now he's playing for Congo, because most of that price is the English tax, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. So I just don't know actually how much better our recruitment's got, because I look around at other teams, they seem to be getting more value for their money than what we're getting, and it isn't just. I tell you now, it isn't just. But it's because we're Man United and the price goes up. It isn't just that. Actually, they wanted Maguire so bad, and it's like we look at some of it.
We've ever done that.
Not that great. Do you know what I mean? They wanted Lukaku for ages. They went and got Lukaku, spent big money. All right, Lukaku's gone on to do well, and to be fair, he probably, you could look at it now and say he needed to go because he wanted to go, and, you know, Ollie didn't fancy him, but he's still a very good striker. It didn't work out. They wanted Pogba. They paid the big 90 million. It hasn't worked. So really and truly, it's not really that. It's not only that the managers ain't getting back to a certain time. It's because we always have to keep untying our laces and retying them. That's the problem. When other teams are spending their money and their targets are actually working. How can Wolves go and get Semedo from Barcelona right back straight away after letting Doherty leave for, like, what did they pay for it? 35 million?
And
like,
fantastic player.
You know what I mean? So you need to look at it like, where are these deals? Where like more of the type of Donny van der Beeks for 39 million pounds that, you know, what a good player he is for that price. Why don't we have more of that? It isn't just as easy as saying it's because Man United and the premium goes up. It's because we don't know how to negotiate, and the players we're identifying for the money we're willing to pay are not that good.
Yeah, I think that's a good example as well. Sorry, Mark, because obviously you mentioned Jota going, but they brought Neto for next to nothing, didn't they? And they brought him through, and he's like going to be a massive player for them as well. And it's the same thing, like Doherty, they replace him straight away. Their recruitment, they know what they're looking for. Leicester are similar as well. They got rid of Maguire. They got Lord Farquhar at the back. Soyuncu, that's it. They never miss with a signing. And it's like we've got to sign. We've got to sign glamorous names. We've got to sign the big names. I said this before. It's like we do our scouting on Twitter, wherever it is. It's not like we've actually got a football brain up there to go and find these younger players like the likes of Wolves and Leicester do.
It is, you know, somebody just mentioned in the live comments, Haaland, Bellingham, Sancho. These were all players that Ollie wanted that weren't delivered. And the other flip side is that, you know, again, we can mention Van Gaal. You know, you look at the players that when Mourinho came in after Van Gaal, that he didn't play, he didn't want. He got rid of most of the signings that Van Gaal made. Ollie came in, got rid of a lot of the players that Mourinho had. And then, you know, you get rid of Ollie and Poch comes in and he probably goes, I don't like Harry Maguire. I don't like Wan-Bissaka. And then, you know, you're trying to offload these players that are on big wages because we pay stupid wages. And, you know, I almost think we're at the point now where as a fan base, we need to switch on. One, because we're being victimized, because we're being played. It's the same cycle all the time. And two, whether you like Ollie or not, and I'm not convinced he's the right man, I think at some point you've just got to say, stop sacking the manager, because we've got to follow it through. And look, I think the next few weeks are going to be very interesting. And I think there's a question here, from Salah Ahmed, Ricky, where he's saying, if Bruno's dropped next week for the Newcastle game, what would be your thoughts and what does it mean for Ollie? And I would expand that to you, because it was Matic and Bruno who got took off at half-time against Spurs. Now, you know, Matic is a player you like. Bruno's a player I like. Apparently, Bruno was very vocal in the dressing room about, you know, players not playing for the shirt, etc. Ollie decided to take those two players off. He kept Pogba on. Pogba was at fault for the 2 goals in the second half. Maguire had a disaster class. Some would say that next game against Newcastle could be Ollie's biggest game. It's his easiest game in the league because he's got Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton after that. He's got PSG and Leipzig after that. So this Newcastle game probably becomes the one game where he can sort of make a statement. Does Pogba get dropped? Does Bruno get dropped? Does Van der Beek come in? Does Maguire have the captaincy taken off him? You know, should he be doing those things, considering we really should have lost the first 3 games? And is this an example of Ollie, you know, he's on trial? And you know, does he go with the same team that's let him down, or does he actually ring the changes and exert his authority? What do you think? What would you do?
He's got to change the team. He must realise it. I mean, we're lucky we're extremely lucky that we've not conceded 15 goals in 3 games. I mean, we've conceded, 6, 3 and 2, that's 11. You know, Brighton hit the woodwork 5 times. Palace missed chances. Spurs could have had more. Brighton missed chances apart from the times that they hit the woodwork. They missed other chances. We're so lucky not to have conceded 5 a game on average. He's got to get it. He's got to get it tighter, and it's not. It's not entirely the fault of the defenders. I mean, the defenders were a bit of a mess, but we just haven't got enough people in front of the back 4. You know, we've got Greenwood, Marshall, and Marshall's suspended now, but we've got Greenwood, Marshall, and Rashford up front. None of them are absolutely brilliant at getting back into defensive shape. And then Bruno's playing as a number 10. It's schoolboy football. It's absolutely schoolboy football. There's too many people up the field when the opposition are breaking on us. Pogba's not the ideal partner when you've got all those people up as well. I mean, what he did against Spurs, he took Matic off and he took Bruno off. But look who he replaced them with. He replaced them with McTominay and Fred. Now, don't forget, we're down to 10 men. And in the second half, we were actually slightly better. We were slightly better because we had 2 defensive midfield players on. You know, I've had people saying to me, oh, but Matic was... Maybe he was terrible, but he was on his own. You know, when McTominay and Fred come on, we've got 2 defensive midfield players, and it was a little bit, not a lot, but it's a little bit better. So when we've got 11 men on the field, look, I know I've said this 2 or 3 times on the show before. Pogba and Bruno isn't going to work together. I've also said that Van der Beek plays the same role as Bruno. Now, it's a horrible situation that he's in. He's got to pick 2 of McTominay, Matic and Fred. Any 2. I mean, obviously I'd have Matic, but I'd accept any 2. 2 of those 3 players have got to play. And then only 1 can play at number 10 in front of those players. Those players have got to give you that solidity in front of your back 4.
So you're going to drop 2 out of Pogba, Bruno and Van der Beek?
You choose, but there's only room for 1 well, I'll be honest with you. From what I've seen of him, I'd go Van der Beek. But you can only pick 1 of Van der Beek, Pogba, and Bruno. That's it. And we've got.
But Bruno's the player that's put us into 3rd. Like, you can't drop a player that has single-handedly took that team to a new level.
As much as I've said my choice would be Van der Beek, I don't mind if look. Let's imagine
put Bruno on the right. We played Mata on the right. You could put Bruno on the right.
Let's imagine you're the gaffer and I'm the assistant, right? You're the gaffer.
Well, this needs to be done. We need to do this as a show.
I'm saying to you, Poch, we've got to have 2 players just in front of the back 4, not 1. We've got to have 2.
Yeah. You
can only play 11. I've said that 100 times on here. So you've got to have those. It's like you've got to have a goalkeeper. It's just as important. So we've got to have 2 players solid in front of the back 4. Right? This is the mess that we're in at the minute, which then means you've got 2 wide players, you've got 1 striker. I don't think you're going to relinquish any of those. There's no point shoehorning somebody in. Don't put Bruno on the right wing or Pogba on the left wing. We want wingers on the wings.
Well, Greenwood's not a winger, is he?
So, exactly. So we're going to play with 1 number 9 and 1 number 10. And like I've just said, let's pretend you're the gaffer. My choice would be Van der Beek, but I don't really care which one you pick. But you can only pick 1 of Pogba, Bruno, or Van der Beek, and 2.
And that's where you got a partnership with Mark. He starts throwing the toys out the pram. Well, I'm bloody not having that. I mean, right, that's it.
You're sacking me, Ricky. You're sacking me. If I put that team out, I'm sacked. Pogba and Bruno on the bench with Van der Beek. I'm sacked.
That's what's going to happen. But you know what? I have to. I agree. I agree, especially with the shape that we're now in, which is awful, non-existent. Confidence is low. You're leaking goals like a tap. I think Ollie needs to do one of 2 things. Away from Ricky saying the players he needs to pick, I think he either needs to go with a 5 and play Luke Shaw at left centre back and put Alex Telles straight in the back. I think you need to do that. Sure, it's
Newcastle away though.
Listen.
He's sacking himself. It's like Ricky telling me to play a back 5, and I'm like, I'm sacking myself here.
But what I'm saying is when that formation, if it's coached properly, I keep saying this about a 5 at the back or a 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it. I keep saying this about this formation. It can be very attacking. I know it looks like, because obviously you've got 3 centre halves on there, but sometimes people don't actually play with. They play with like wingers, but just further back. sometimes. They're not actually defensive-minded players. It depends on your system and your coaching. Do you know what I mean?
We've got Telles on the left, who can be like a left winger.
100%.
But Wan-Bissaka's not a right winger, is he?
And this is where the problem comes in, because Wan-Bissaka ain't really got the feet for it to do that. He's got the lungs, but he doesn't have the quality. So that's why maybe that might not be the best thing to do. But it is an option to shore it up. You have your 3, and then your 4, and the 2 in the midfield need to be, like Ricky's saying, 2 out of them 3 players he mentioned. I do agree with that. And then Ollie has a decision to make whether he goes with the 10 or just goes with a 3, like what Arsenal do, and have a back, like 1 on the left, 1 in the middle, 1 on the right, instead of a 10 and then 2 strikers. So for me, if he does that, or he plays the same formation, but like Ricky says, he has to change the personnel massively. He has to work on the shape. He has to give us a basis, a platform to build up from. So people will say, oh, you don't need 2 CDMs against Newcastle. You don't need 2 CDMs against this team. They're crap. You don't need that. What we need is shape and organization against every team we play. It doesn't matter who it is. People think it's kind of like FIFA, where, oh, I'm playing Burnley away. I'll just leave Fred back, and I'll just put Pogba in. I'll put Van der Beek. I'll put Bruno. I'll play Martial, and I'll just play all the attackers because it's only Burnley. But it doesn't.
Liverpool approach the same game, don't they? The same way. So
exactly.
I think you talk about formations, and you're spot on in what you're saying. But we could play that. But I think for me, I've already mentioned it. Ollie needs to prove himself tactically. And I think we see at the moment where we're waiting for a bit of individual brilliance. We're not compact as a team. We're not pressing as a team. We look a bit all over the place. So you see it at Wolves, they play that formation, the wing backs. Every player on that pitch for Nuno knows their role. And that's why they're so impressive. You can see every player bring on a replacement and they know their role. When you look at us at the minute, we don't have a clear plan. We look all over the place. We've mentioned defensively in particular. But we look all over the place. So I think if we are going to mix it up, like you said, 3 centre-backs and then our wing backs, our players need to know their roles. Our players need to be coached well. And that's something that obviously a lot of people are questioning at the minute. So I think if we are going to change that, we need to see that the players know their roles week in, week out. And that's on Ollie then and the coaches to implement that.
And the thing about Bruno, the thing about Bruno playing so high up as well, right? If he's going to play the 10, he's so far forward. Like, he actually plays alongside Martial some of the time. Yep. And he initiates his own press. Now, what it is people think like, oh, it's amazing. He's got the right attitude. It's brilliant. He wants to do everything. But when the whole team isn't doing it because they're not drilled or they can't be asked or they're switched off, anyone who plays football will tell you, if you've got one player running around doing it, they just get the ball bopped around them and leave massive holes in behind. If he is going to play the same team with Pogba, Bruno and Matic, which I don't think he should, but if he does, he has to say, right, Bruno, I tell you what, forget the 10. Just play a 3 in there and we move in unison. When we ain't got the ball, we go for, we sit back in, we win the ball, we work hard. When we do have the ball, we go forward and we make things happen. Like, that's what he needs to do. He needs to just drop this number 10. Number 10's kind of dying out anyway. Do you know what I mean? So for me, he's got to change that.
I just think, if we play a back 5 at the weekend against Newcastle and we do it for the rest of this month, I think Ollie is basically putting up a white flag and saying, I'm fucked. I'm going to get the sack anyway. I'm going to go back to them counter-attacking defensive displays of last year where I keep a clean sheet and nick a goal and everyone goes, yeah, we beat Chelsea, we beat Man City. But in your heart of hearts, that ain't never going to win you a league because all we were really doing is going into the game, playing defensive, letting them have all the ball and trying to nick a result. And it'll basically be arse covering, just trying to save your job and the inevitable will happen. I would rather, and look, 3 centre-backs instead of 2 centre-backs are giving me bloody high blood pressure. 3 of the shits out there. I mean, God knows what happens with that. But I do think it's going to happen because I think Luke Shaw is going to be put left side centre-back and I think Telles will go left wing-back. But as Flex said, Wan-Bissaka on the right. But I think that before we talk about the games that are coming up, there's 3 big decisions and we'll just do a round robin on this. Starting with you, Ricky. Is Harry Maguire the captain against Newcastle next week?
Didn't expect that question.
Contextually, I don't care what he did in Greece. He'll get found guilty or not guilty, but I just don't think he's a captain. I don't. And I think it's actually causing his game more problems than good. But so, I mean, today for England, he seemed to do quite well and he wasn't the captain.
So free as well, that's why.
Yeah, you've got to give it some thought. That I mean, obviously, you just hit me with the question, and I've not had time to really give it much thought. But it could cause more harm taking it off him rather than giving him the confidence boost of not taking it off him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So if it was down to me, I wouldn't take it off him just yet. No.
Soph?
I think he's already low on confidence, and if you strip it from him, I think he's going to get even lower. I feel like he shouldn't be captain, but you've already mentioned Ollie and making those big calls. I think Maguire will still be captain next game.
Flex?
Yeah, Maguire will still be captain next game and still be playing. Won't be dropped. Won't be having it stripped. I would look at how I could transition him out of it though. And it is about looking at the way to do it. Again, we're fans and we think just take it off him now. But you are about to play Newcastle with a difficult game that we must win. That could actually do him more harm than good to do it straight away. Maybe you see it out to the end of the season and then give it to Bruno or then give it to someone. I know people might say it's too late, then he's going to be crap all year, whatever. But I would be looking at a more transitional thing as opposed to we just lost 6-1. You're not the captain anymore. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. I don't know. I think that will probably make him worse because he isn't playing good at the moment.
So, a few people saying give it to Bruno. Ricky says keep it. Sophie says keep it. Flex says keep it. I'll drop him. Forget taking the captaincy off him. I'm going to drop him. I'm going to drop him. But it's the great thing is, it's like everyone's got a different approach to things. This is the great thing about life. Everyone's got a different approach to things. And know, the proof is in the pudding. And ultimately, I think Ollie will keep him as captain. But for me, his performance against Spurs was a disgrace, absolute disgrace. And it's not the first time. And I just think that why is he above being dropped? Just because it might impact on his confidence.
I'll tell you why, because
he tackled Luke Shaw on the first bloody goal. Luke Shaw's about to clear it. He bloody grabbed Luke Shaw. I mean, if I didn't think any better, I would have thought he was on the take. Like, what was that about? I didn't even notice it at the time. I'm so so happy I didn't. I was too busy talking about his rubbish heading ability, which we paid 80 million quid for. He then goes and grabs Luke Shaw and bloody Ndembele comes in and goes, thank you very much.
But I'll tell you why, Mark. It's because you're right. But this is what it is about not having players that are reliable. Because then you're saying, I fully trust that Lindelof and Eric Bailly will be solid.
Well, I don't, but I just think you've got to.
You don't know. And we haven't got that big a pot to pick from. And that's the problem. The lack of quality in that area, although Rojo's still there, Jones is still there, Tuanzebe's only just got back fit. We had a scare with Eric Bailly where he tweaked something and had fatigue. So we probably don't even play him against Newcastle because he's just waiting to get injured. You start Eric Bailly in that game after him saying, I was a little bit tired. He comes off after 35 minutes and you have to bring Maguire on anyway. And he's cold as anything. And flipping Callum Wilson gives him the runaround. So it's stuck between a rock and a hard place. I get it. I get it, how bad he was against them. But we're just not blessed in that area. We're not.
There's a comment here. Somebody just said, Mark, you're too temperamental to be a good coach. Right. Ricky might remember this. I remember going in the noughties, it would have been probably around 2000, maybe 2001. United went away to Ellen Road. I think it might have been a Saturday lunchtime kickoff. There was a rumour that Beckham had been dropped because of an issue with Sir Alex, and he dropped him and he played Luke Chadwick. And Leeds probably should have got a result, but we won 1-0. And everyone was like, well, he's done the right thing. He's done the right thing. He's given Beckham a jolt. He sent a message to the team. We got the 3 points, and Beckham came in the next game, and United, I think, probably went on to win the title. This is, Sir Alex Ferguson was the most temperamental manager of the lot. And I just think, we'll move on to the next position in a minute, but I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if he wants to keep his job, if he thinks that this set of players that have let everybody down is going to just suddenly turn it around, I think he needs to send a massive jolt through that team. And I think the fan base would respect him more for taking the captaincy off a player and even dropping a player, because actually, forget Greece, forget sympathy, forget, oh, he's a nice guy. He played awful against Spurs, and it's not the first time. And Lindelof's been dropped for Bailly, so why shouldn't Maguire get dropped for what he did? And he's not a captain. I think I personally would handle the captaincy like this. Give me the captain's armband. You're not captain anymore. The reason you're not captains anymore is because I think that you're underperforming because the captaincy is too much pressure for you, Harry. I just want you to focus on being my centre-back. Don't worry about the captaincy. I believe in you. You're my centre-back. You just focus on that. So that's what I think on that. But midfield is the big next one. What would you play Pogba against Newcastle next week, Ricky?
Well, as we were just speaking about there, I think we've got to play with two more solid, simple players. Like I just said, from McTominay, Matic, and Fred. Obviously, I'd play Matic. People will say McTominay and Fred. McTominay and Fred played the second half last week. They didn't do too bad. We were down at 10 men. But look, we'd have to play two of those three players. As I just said, there's only room for one. So, no, I wouldn't play Pogba. No.
Just context here, because there is a lot of people out there, Sophie, who have this myth that Pogba is an attacking midfielder. If you play Pogba in position with better players around him, he'll be a bloody superstar and he'll be consistent, right? He's now currently playing in the box-to-box role for France in a diamond. He's not playing in the Griezmann role. He's playing exactly where he plays for Manchester United, where he plays for France, where he plays for Juve, in a box-to-box role around the centre circle. That is Pogba's position. So would you pick him against Newcastle at the weekend?
I don't think Pogba's been playing well. Whether it's a fitness thing, he hasn't been playing well. So for me, personally, I would drop him. I would like to see Van der Beek given a chance. I think he's earned that. But I think we've seen with Ollie in the past, Rashford post-lockdown, for example, he wasn't playing well. He looked like he was still injured. And Ollie didn't drop him. He persevered with him through that. And I think we'll probably see the same with Pogba. I don't know if he's got the heart, Ollie, to drop him. I can't see him making that big decision. And I know, like Flex said earlier, that's something I think we need to see from Ollie in the weeks to come. Personally, I wouldn't. I would rather see Van der Beek in there. But I do think Pogba will possibly still start, especially after playing for France as well.
It's interesting, Flex, isn't it? Because both Ricky and Sophie are saying drop Pogba. I think we were talking about dropping Pogba for the Brighton game and the Spurs game.
Yeah.
And this is where, to be fair, all those people who are Ollie out actually can sit up and say, look at me, I'm right. Because we're all talking about decisions that need to be made, but we're all saying he won't do it. He probably should do it, but he won't do it. Right. And there is the answer, isn't it? You know, if he's not making those decisions, how can he expect to be backed when the fans are going, look, you've got Van der Beek. He deserves the chance. It's not like you've got to play McTominay in the role like last year. You can drop Pogba and give the new signing who's not had a chance to go. Yeah. Well, and yet we all probably know he won't do it.
It won't. And I'm just looking at, just a little bit off topic, but it's kind of related to the Pogba situation. I'm looking at the midfield three here that Portugal have set up with, and they've gone 4-3-3, just a flat three in midfield with Carvalho, Pereira and Fernandes to the right of that three. Obviously not as a winger, just in a free. So if we change the system, like he probably could get more change out of those sorts of players. But for me, I know it's hard because I do agree that Pogba needs to take care of his own performances and do the simple things well, do the simple things consistently. And when you play him deeper, I just think he is too much of a risk there because for whatever reason, whether he's not paying attention, whether that's not his best position, whatever you want to call it, I think he's too much of a hazard to play there. He doesn't look after the ball well enough there. I don't think he plays quick enough there. I think he would like to play further forward. I think we do get the best out of him further forward. Not as a number 10, because I agree. He doesn't move like a 10. He doesn't play like a 10. And where he is slightly further back, his range of passing is unbelievable. He's probably, he's in the top 2 or 3 players in terms of range of passing in world football. But playing literally just in front of the back four, me personally, I don't think that plays to any of his strengths one bit. Whereas if you played him in a free or like the diamond, what France are playing, then you've got multifunctional players around him, and you can play him further up. However, under Ollie, under this regime, never going to happen. So with that in mind, he shouldn't play. You just can't. What Ollie's trying to do is, I'm not going to change my formations. I'm not going to change too much personnel. I'm just going to persist. Like you can't do that. You can't do that. So for me, I think you take him out. You shore us up with 2 defensive midfielders, and like Ricky said, you play one of 3 out of Bruno, Pogba, and Van der Beek in there.
Aidan, we have just spent 15 minutes talking about Harry Maguire. You probably just tuned in for the Pogba section, which we've only been talking a couple of minutes about. I mean, look, I don't know whether it's the red wine for me, but because I don't like the diamond, but I actually would play the diamond against Newcastle. I would put Matic, Pogba, Van der Beek and Bruno and play Greenwood and Rashford because Cavani's not going to be fit. And I don't want to see a Garlo. And we played the diamond against Everton last season and it really didn't work. We had Greenwood and Martial and they ended up too wide. But we also played McTominay and Fred. I think if you played Bruno, Pogba, Van der Beek, and Matic as a diamond midfield with Greenwood and Rashford, who are used to be going wide. We can't play the back five because Wan-Bissaka's not a wing back, so it nullifies that.
I don't know about the balance though, Mark.
I just think that, you know, what I don't want to see him doing is playing Van der Beek on the bench and going with Pogba, Bruno, the same team again. I think he's got to do something different on Saturday night. He's got to do something different, and I don't like the back five. And Cavani's not fit. He should not play Cavani against Newcastle. So I would go with the diamond.
There is he?
What?
He's not even there, is he? He's quarantining, no?
Well, I think he probably is. I don't know whether anyone's confirmed that. But I would like to see the diamond, to be honest with you. But look, Ricky, we've got Newcastle. We've got PSG. I don't know which order it is, but we've definitely got Chelsea, Arsenal, Leipzig. Then I think we've got Everton. So we've got 4 tough Premier League games, 2 tough Champions League games, and they're our next 6 games. I said this in the week. You know, even Mourinho, Van Gaal, Ollie, we've never had a run of games like this before. There's always a Carabao Cup game or an easy Europa League game where you go, well, they might lose at the weekend, but they'll definitely win that. And, this is a run of games that you really could come out of it and be like, we could be doing a Sunday night show in a month and everyone's going to be, he's got to go, get Poch in now. It's that difficult to run of games. How do you feel? And I know it's hard to predict, but that's what it's all about. How do you feel this next month is going to go? Transfer window's shut. Martial has got a red card. A lot of these players are out of form. Cavani, look, he ain't fit. This Palestri lad, Traore, Tellez is probably going to make a difference. How do you feel it's going to go in your gut? Do you think it's going to get worse? Do you think it might be a mixed bag? Or do you think we have got the capability to, the international break might do us some good and we go on a good run?
Interestingly, you mentioned a short while back, tonight, a short while back about Pochettino not having a great record when he was with Spurs against the big clubs, and suddenly we've got loads of games against big teams, and always done well against the big teams, but our record against the smaller team, in defence of Pochettino from earlier. Maybe it's not important that you do well against the big teams, as long as you do beat all the little teams. And what Ollie's managed to do is have really good results against the big teams regularly. Did we beat City 3 times last season? And did we beat Chelsea 3 times? I know at the time, even getting a draw off Liverpool was a fantastic result. I think they won about, they win something ridiculous, like 25 out of 26 games or something. Mm-hmm. So we've had good results against the big teams. I've got a feeling that now we're going to play against the big teams, and I think it's going to go pear-shaped. That's my honest gut feeling. Unless he makes big changes, and unless it's against Newcastle, I can't see where our next win's coming from.
So on that, I'll go to Sophie and Flex, but on that, Ricky, if that run happens, how long do you see him being in a job? Because you can see it in the comments tonight. That's only going to get worse.
Well, look, we've got, like you've mentioned three league games and 2 Champions League games. Even if we beat Newcastle and don't win any of the next 4, he's going to be under extreme pressure, isn't he? I would have thought.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't make these changes, I don't think we'll beat Newcastle anyway. So then it's just going from bad to worse, isn't it?
Well, we lost there last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Soph, same sort of question, really. This run of games, there's definitely nowhere to hide. How do you think it's going to go?
I think I'm sitting here thinking, surely it can't be any worse than that Spurs game. And I'm hoping that this international break helps us to recuperate, build a bit of fitness going into Newcastle. But I think a lot of it hinges on how we start that game. If we start slowly, Newcastle will come at us. That obviously start the season decently. And I think if we lose that game, then confidence, like I say, is going to be, if it's not already on the floor, it's going to be on the floor. So I think if we win that Newcastle game, I feel it could be a mixed bag going into it. I don't think they'll win all of those games because it's a hard run. But I feel like we can win at least half of those games. And then I think Ollie will still have a bit more time. But like I say, if we lose to Newcastle, I think it's a flip side. I think confidence is going to be on the floor and it's going to be a torrid time.
Flex.
Yeah, I've said for a while, man, I'm so worried about this run of games. And some fans who do the whole, don't worry, everything's always fine. You just back the club because everything is fine. They're great. Well done to you. But I think if you're being a realist, you can look at that run And like Ricky said, you do look at it with the way we're playing. I'm not saying it's impossible, but with the way we're playing, it's a very difficult run. And I do fear for Ollie. And more importantly, I fear for where we will be at the end of that run, because if it doesn't start against Newcastle, right, with him making some big choices and giving us a platform and a small bit of confidence to even go into that big run, when really Newcastle's actually part of the run, really, let's face it, but it's only the easiest out of all of them. If it doesn't start good from there, it could go really wrong really quickly. And I dread to think where we could be after Everton away that evening, whenever that is. Can't even remember. I think it's the end of October, or was it early November? I dread to think where we could be going into the next international break, which is, I think it's the midway through November. That there, I think, is the pinnacle. We'll know a lot more about where we are truly at, because at the moment, they've used up all the credits now in the machine of just getting used to it. First game back, second game back, third game back, couple of games in between that you won against lesser opposition. Credits
They've all
are
played international football, a lot of them now.
Played international football. They're getting minutes. Pogba's about to play 90 minutes tonight. All of this stuff. Maguire's got another 90 under his belt. No excuses. These man have to deliver. They got to, or they could get Ollie sacked, or Ollie could sack himself if he don't make the changes. So, yeah, I'm worried.
I agree with all three of you, and I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be foolish not to be in touch with the people he needs most of all. You know, you don't need the Glazers and Woodward. You need the fans behind you. And the reality is, I think if he rings the changes in the right way next week, he will earn a lot of respect. But if he goes with the same team and loses, even the people who trust and want him to do well will start to go, look, he's a bottler. You know, you can't lose 6-1 and send the same team out. I think Ricky's right about that. You cannot send the same team out, because what message does that send to the players that are on the bench? You know, some of the players on the bench like Van der Beek will be like, if you're not going to start me after a 6-1 loss, when are you going to start me?
Exactly.
So he's got to ring the changes. Now, for me, I want Ollie to do well, but I tell you what, 7 o'clock on Saturday night, if he sends the same team out, I ain't going to sit and lie and go, that's a disgrace from the manager. But I'm going to go with a different angle. I think we're going to beat Newcastle. I'm not scared of Chelsea and Arsenal. And I think by the time we come to Everton, I think we'll be totally respectful of Everton. So I think Champions League is different, but I think in the league, we are going to go on a good run. And in relation to that thing on the screen, when does Mark become Ollie out? I think after the reason I asked about the question is, if we come out of these next few games and we don't win at least 2 out of the 4, I'm probably going to have to say Ollie out, because for me, we might have 3 points, but we should have none. That Brighton game shouldn't have been a win. So you cannot be Manchester United manager and come out of the first 7 games of the season with 3 or 6 points. He's got to go and win at least 2 of the next 4 games. And if he doesn't, then the pressure deserves to be right, regardless of the Glazers or anything like that. You know, he's got good enough players to have the points.
Players got to show the minerals, man.
Can I say something like that? Last season when we got beat at Newcastle, it was during the period that Marshall was out injured. We got beat 1-0 at Newcastle, we got beat 2-0 at West Ham. We hardly created a chance in those 2 games.
It's going to be a huge loss.
Yeah, some people seem to think that when I say that I'm expecting Marshall to make chances. Of course he makes chances, but at the same time, it's purely and simply about having a good player who you can hit the ball to, who can hold it and allow other players to get forward and get involved in the game. He doesn't have to make the chances. If he plays, the team will make more chances. Now, obviously, he's suspended next week. Now, I don't know if Cavani's fit or available. And obviously, I'm not 100% sure that I'd go with Ighalo, but you do need someone who you can hit with the ball, who can hold the ball, and maybe Ighalo might be the next best man. But if he doesn't use Ighalo, and if Cavani's not fit and Marshall's suspended, I don't see how we're going to create a chance in the game. I really don't see how it's going to happen.
I tell you what, just on that Martial thing, because there are no Carabao Cup games to eat up this 3-match ban. So basically, he's going to miss Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea. I don't understand why we're not appealing it. Because basically, if you appeal it and say to the Premier League, look, he shouldn't have done it, but Lamella's dived. He's had a 3-match ban because Lamella's cheated. Like,
it's a good point, but he still did it. And the problem, I mean, I love Anthony Marshall, you know that. I wish he hadn't done it, but the idea of appealing that, it'd be more really about getting Lamella suspended as well. What Lamella did to Marshall was worse than what Marshall did to Lamella. So it'd be more about getting Lamella suspended as well, rather than Marshall suspension.
I just feel the Premier League and anybody, you know, I've got a daughter who plays, and she was on about it the other day. She was like, so basically, you can dive on the floor and get Martial banned for 3 games. And I said, well, yeah.
It is a good point. It is a good point.
Because if he stays on his feet and doesn't react, the referee wouldn't have done anything.
Martial could have reacted, couldn't he? He could have reacted the same way Lamella did at first.
Well, Ollie said that. Fair play for not going to the ground. But actually, I think Ollie should, you know, actually, the lesson is cheat and go to the ground. Because if he'd gone to the ground, Spurs would have been down to 10 men. We probably would have won the game. And Martial would be playing against Newcastle. And that's what I'm saying. The Premier League is sending a message out that, and look, I know we lost 6-1 to Spurs, but I don't think, defence apart, I don't think they were better than us in that bit of period of time before the red card. And ultimately, Lamella cheats, we go down to 10 men and we lose Martial for 3 games. And that's the lesson.
Before that period, Mark, they were.
What? I know they were playing well, but I don't think they wouldn't have won 6-1.
Yeah,
the
difference was when Martial got sent off, we didn't have anything going forwards. I thought, even though Spurs obviously looked like scoring every time they attacked, I think we were trouble going forwards as well. I thought we looked sharp. Pog was doing like 1-2s in and around the box. So I thought we looked good going forwards. But then, of course, the second Martial got took off, we had no focal point, like Rick was talking about. We had no get out, basically, and we were just pinned back.
I remember a great ball from Bruno to Rashford, and he was offside. He should have scored. And that would have been 2. And everything Spurs did, our defence was just terrible. It was really bad. But look, Spurs deserved to win it. But what I'm saying is, ultimately, the message being sent out by that Martial red card is that, you know, if you go down and cheat, then you will win a game, and you will also get them suspended for 3 games. But, you know, whatever. We could talk all night about that. Anyway,
excuse me, Matt, one quick one. You mentioned the League Cup games. Obviously, we haven't got League Cup games, but you can play in the Champions League. So obviously, Marshall can get games. We can play against PSG. The following week, we play Leipzig. He's playing those games, even if Cavani's fit. At the end of the day, it would be stupid to play Cavani. Say you play Cavani against PSG and he gets injured, and then the following Saturday, you've not got Marshall or Cavani.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Martial won't miss much football, really, will he? Because he'll be able to play in the Champions League. Yeah, it's good. Anyway, we've overrun a little bit, but look, really enjoyed the show as ever. Some good points. I think wherever you sit, whatever you think, I think the run of games in many ways excite me, because there is nowhere to hide over the next few weeks. And whether you're hoping Ollie loses so he gets sacked, or you're hoping United turn it around, we're not going to fluke 6 results. So we're going to get the truth will out, I think. So very excited and really looking forward to it, and we'll see what happens. But Kay says, great show. Thanks to everyone in the live comments who's tuned in. And of course, Ricky, we'll start with you. Thanks for coming on, pal. How many more weeks are you out there then with Matic's Villa?
I'm out here until just after the PSG game. So I'll be doing 2 fan cams from Turkey. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
What time is it there? Is it still the same time, or are you like out?
2 hours ahead of you. So I'll just come in from the pub and just having another swift one.
Well, I've timed it really well, because actually Portugal-France is 0-0. So thank me later, but I put the show forward half an hour so we could all watch the second half. Perfect. And thankfully, I've had a word with Pogba and Bruno, and they've said, don't worry, we'll leave the good stuff till the second half. So it's 0-0 at half time, and we can all go and watch the second half. But thanks for coming on, Soph.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Thanks for asking me. I love chatting to you guys, and hopefully we get more positives to talk about United in the coming days. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting time, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. Nowhere to hide, as I said. And Flex, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And it is good, actually, because I want to go and see what Pogba and Bruno are saying in this match. Actually, I'm quite excited to see. I don't think much has happened in the first half. I find some of the reports.
Well, I've got it here. It's about 50-50 possession. Both have had 4 shots, none on target, and it's 0-0. So basically, we didn't need to watch the first half. Watch United stand. We can all go and watch France-Portugal now. So lovely jubbly, as they say. And have a nice Sunday evening watching Bruno versus Pogba. Hopefully they don't go into a 50-50 and break each other's legs or anything stupid like that. Enjoy the second half, everyone. Thanks to everyone for watching. Really enjoyed that, and we'll see you on the next one.